Welcome to the next topic of endocrinology, and in today's session we are going to discuss about different types of hormones. Um, First, we have seen about different types of hormones, at least the introduction of it in our previous class, where we have discussed about autocrine, paracrine signaling, where it's actually about based on the mode of action or the site of action. We have seen different types of messengers. Okay, and in today's session we are going to discuss about the types of hormones based on their nature, and that means the chemical nature. What is the chemical nature of those hormones? Based on that, there are different types of hormones, and in this session I am going to discuss about three of them. Now the first type is steroid hormone, next one is protein or peptide hormone, and third type is derivative of the amino acid like tyrosine. In addition to that, there are also other hormones like derivatives of fatty acids called as eicosanoids. They are called as local messengers too. So they do come under local hormones, prostaglandins. Now we won't focus on those things in this class. We are going to discuss only the three basic types of hormones classified based on the chemical nature. Okay, let's see one by one. The first one is a steroid hormone. Now, as the name itself says, it is formed of steroid, and steroids are derivatives of cholesterol. Okay, when we consume the food, we know we can also consume cholesterol, good cholesterol. The skeleton of this cholesterol is used by different endocrine glands to produce certain hormones. Okay, those hormones which are produced using cholesterol as its a skeletal part are called as steroid hormones. Now for example, hormones secreted by adrenal cortex. Okay, hormones secreted by adrenal cortex, adrenocorticoids, they are called as adrenocorticoids. That's the name. Mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoid, for example, they are steroids. Okay, cortex of the adrenal gland secrete certain hormones, and these hormones are steroid hormones. Glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids are the two types of such hormones. Then gonads, testis and ovary also secrete hormones, and you are familiar about testosterone, progesterone, okay, estrogen, etc. So this, as the name itself, again the sterone is there in their name, progesterone, okay, testosterone, steroid hormones, they are secreted by ovary and the testis. Testosterone is secreted by testis, progesterone by the ovary. Then even placenta, okay, placenta in females also secretes hormones like progesterone. This is again hormone, placental progesterone. This is also a steroid hormone. Okay, so hormones which are synthesized by from cholesterol or its derivatives are called as steroid hormones, and these steroid hormones have a different action mechanisms than a proteinaceous hormone, which we will be seeing in our future classes. The second type of hormone based on chemical nature is a protein hormones or peptide hormones. That means these are the hormones which are formed of amino acid sequences. The number of amino acids present in them might vary. Okay, so if it is a small number of amino acids, then it is called as a peptide hormone. If the number of amino acids are large, then they are called as protein hormones. And all the hormones that are secreted by pituitary gland, okay, like growth hormone, and parathyroid glands, pancreas like insulin, okay, and certain placental hormones, they are the proteinaceous hormones. That means chemically they are formed of amino acids. They are chemically sequences of amino acids. These hormones cannot directly act on the cell because they are unable to pass through the cell membrane. So they have a different mechanism of action. Okay, protein hormone activity and steroid hormone activity are different, and this is because of the difference in the membrane property. Membranes are easily, they allow the steroid hormones to easily pass through, but not the protein hormones. The third type of hormone is a amino acid derivative. It is derived from a amino acid, and for example tyrosine derivative. Okay, for in our body there are two such classes of tyrosine derived hormones. That means tyrosine is an amino acid, and the hormone which is produced is from this particular amino acid. Now this tyrosine, as you can see on the slide here, okay, this is the amino acid, amino group and carboxylic group. So amino acids, your friends who are studying elective 1 are familiar with those amino acids. They contain amino group and alcoholic carboxylic group, so they are called as amino acids. So this tyrosine amino acid is the base, okay, and thyroxine hormone secreted by thyroid gland is produced by using two tyrosine molecules, and it also contain 3 to 4 iodine group. Triiodothyronine or tetraiodothyronine is the chemical name of thyroxine. So this thyroxine is produced using amino acid tyrosine. Similarly, the hormone secreted by adrenal medulla, okay, adrenal gland has cortex and medullary region, and the hormones secreted by adrenal medulla, catecholamines they are called, or epinephrine and norepinephrine, okay, they are derived from these hormone, this particular amino acid called tyrosine, okay. Tyrosine is that particular hormone which give rise to adrenaline or epinephrine, okay. So these two are classes of amino acids that are derived from amino acid tyrosine, okay. So there are three types of hormones, which are the steroid hormones, protein or peptide hormones, and third one is amino acid derived hormones, okay. Steroid hormones, hormones of gonads, okay, and then adrenal cortex, hormones of adrenal cortex and placenta, and protein hormones are pituitary hormones, are basically protein hormones. Pancreatic hormones are also proteinaceous hormones. And tyrosine derived hormones are, one is thyroxine, the other one is epinephrine, okay. Now the next part of today's session is about understanding the role of these hormones in homeostasis, okay. Hormones, homeostasis you have studied in your third semester, you are familiar. Homeostasis is the ability of the body to maintain a constant internal environment despite of changing external condition. For example, if this is a cell, the cell has its own temperature, so it has its own temperature, its own pH, etc. Okay, and surrounding temperature, the temperature in the water or it may be in the surrounding. So it is going to change, it might change, but body always tries to maintain a constant temperature and pH within a tolerable limit. Okay, it does not mean that it will always be any change. For example, even if the surrounding temperature is 100 degrees Celsius, that the body will maintain such a high temperature, it cannot, but within a tolerable limit, within a limit it can always maintain a constant temperature within the cell or within the system. So such mechanism of maintaining a constant internal condition with respect to the surrounding is called as homeostasis, okay. And these some of the factors which are regulated are temperature, okay, thermoregulation we call it, glucose homeostasis, maintaining a particular concentration of glucose within the body, and osmotic pressure, maintaining the salt concentration within the body, and even the minerals like calcium and phosphate concentration within the body, okay. So these are all different homeostatic mechanisms that help in maintaining a constant internal conditions, that is homeostasis. And different hormones are involved in thermoregulation, glucose regulation or homeostasis. There are also hormones which are involved in maintaining osmotic pressure and minerals too. So, we will see one by one. The first one we are going to see glucose homeostasis. What is glucose homeostasis? Maintaining a particular concentration of glucose within the cell or within the body, okay, cell with respect to the outside or depending upon the necessities. Now, here we have a chart. Now, whenever there is, let us say that you have taken a food, you have eaten food. So, what happens? Blood glucose level increases. So, when there is an increased blood glucose level, what happens? The insulin is secreted by pancreas. We all know that insulin can convert glucose into glycogen. It is stored, isn't it? Glucose is converted into glycogen. Glucose is a monosaccharide, glycogen is a polysaccharide. So, glycogen production takes place by the help of glucose, using glucose by the help of hormone insulin. Okay, insulin there plays an important role. And then what happens? Because of the conversion of this glucose into glycogen, the concentration of the glucose will now decrease. It will decrease, and that means it comes back to the normal. And if you are doing a lot of work and there is no blood glucose level has drastically decreased, then what happens? Then the next hormone that is the glucagon will be secreted by the pancreas again. Pancreas secretes glucagon, and at this time what happens? The glucagon will convert the stored glycogen and release it into blood in the form of glucose. So, what happens? The glucose level will now increase. That means glucose level is brought back to normal. It is brought back to normal. So, in glucose homeostasis, two hormones play important role. One is insulin, the other one is glucagon. So, when there is, after eating food, your blood glucose level has increased, which hormone is secreted? Insulin is secreted. The insulin will convert the glucose into glycogen, it will be stored. And when you are starving for a longer time, then what happens? The blood glucose level generally decreases. Now, by sensing the change in the glucose concentration, pancreas will secrete glucagon. This glucagon will convert the glycogen, stored glycogen into glucose. So, the blood glucose level increases and you feel energetic. Okay. So, this is glucose homeostasis and the role of two hormones in maintaining the glucose level in the blood and the body tissue. Okay. Next, the hormones are also involved in thermoregulation. Thermoregulation, maintaining a constant temperature, okay, with respect to the surrounding. We are talking about all endotherms. Now, there are different mechanisms by the help of which temperature can be regulated, can be maintained constant. We all know when we are, during this winter, what happens? We shiver a lot. Shivering is a process of maintaining the temperature. And in summer we sweat, and that is also helpful in lowering the body temperature. Similarly, there are also hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine and thyroid hormones. What they do is that they will increase the metabolic rate by stimulating the breakdown of fat. So, they are going to increase the rate of metabolism of fat or catabolism of fat. What happens when fat catabolism takes place? A lot of heat is generated, and that's how your body temperature is maintained. Okay, your body temperature is maintained, particularly in winter. So, thermoregulation is also controlled by these hormones, okay, like epinephrine, norepinephrine and thyroid hormones. The next one is osmoregulation. Now, what is osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is the process of maintaining a constant salt and water balance within the body. Okay, maintaining a salt and water concentration, that's very, very important for functioning of the body. Okay, now how it is done? It is done by different methods. Osmoregulation takes place by sweating, okay, by releasing the salt. Also takes place by kidney. Kidney is one of the organ that's involved in osmoregulation, helps in maintaining the salt and water concentration of the body. Now here we are talking about hormones that help in osmoregulation. So the first hormone that is that can be included here is a angiotensin. So this angiotensin, it is produced by the liver and it acts on the kidney. So in presence of renin, okay, hormone renin produced by the kidney itself will be converted into angiotensin 1. It is converted into angiotensin 1. Now this angiotensin 1 is then converted into angiotensin 2 and angiotensin 2. This angiotensin 2 has two effects. One, it has direct effect. The other one, it will influence the secretion of two hormones, aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone, both the hormones. So they have their indirect effects. Now directly this angiotensin 2 will help in maintaining the salt concentration balance, one, by causing the artery to constrict. So because of the constriction, vasoconstriction we call it, because of the constriction of the blood vessels, arteries, that will increase the cardiac output and which will result in increase in the blood pressure. Volume increases, blood volume increases and pressure also increases. See, in Boyle's law we have a different rule. Increase in volume, pressure decreases. But here volume of the blood, more the volume of the blood, more is the blood pressure, because that's how they exert pressure on the arteries. So angiotensin 2, it has a direct effect that it increases the blood pressure, okay, and it also decreases the glomerular filtration rate. Glomerular filtration rate is the rate at which blood is filtered in the glomerular region of the nephron in kidney. So that means since the glomerular filtration rate is decreased, less amount of urine will be formed. Okay, less amount of urine will be formed. Less amount of urine formed means more water is retained in the body. More water is retained in the body. Okay, water increases in the body, blood volume increases, blood pressure increases. That's how blood pressure is controlled, by controlling the osmotic pressure. And not only that, there will be, it also influences on the thirst. So there will be increased thirst. You feel more thirsty and then you start drinking water. Again, you drink water, blood volume increases, blood pressure increases. So in this way, blood pressure is raised, or the osmotic pressure is raised by using hormone angiotensin 2. In other pathway, it also influences the secretion of aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone. This aldosterone is produced by the adrenal gland. Okay, in previous session we have seen aldosterone, steroid hormone it is. So this aldosterone causes the nephron, okay, distal convoluted tubule and proximal convoluted tubule. Remember, in the distal convoluted tubule, it will increase the reabsorption of sodium, increased reabsorption of sodium and water. So since sodium and water absorption has increased, blood volume increases, pressure increases. Next, antidiuretic hormone. So what happens here? Antidiuretic hormone, against diuresis. Diuresis means a large amount of urine is lost. Frequent urination is called diuresis. Large amount of urine is lost. A large amount of urine means more water is lost. Okay, so which will result in lower blood pressure. So antidiuretic hormone will help in increasing the blood pressure because moderate insertion of aquaporins. Aquaporins are the membrane proteins that help in passage of water molecules. So here what happens, moderate insertion of aquaporins into the nephron collecting cells. Because of that what happens, more water is reabsorbed. More water is reabsorbed, again increasing the volume. And then it also increases the sodium reabsorption in the medulla. Sodium reabsorption. See, aldosterone also helps in reabsorption of sodium. ADH also helps in sodium reabsorption. So in totality, Sodium reabsorption is increased, water reabsorption is increased, you feel thirsty, the volume of blood is increased because of addition of fluid to it, okay, and then blood pressure increases. Reverse of it will help in decreasing the blood pressure. Atrial natriuretic factor, natriuretic peptide, ANP. Okay, ANP. So this one is secreted by the heart, that's why it's called as atrial natriuretic peptide. This one will act reverse, that means it will increase the sodium secretion in the urine. So because of that, more and more water is lost. If the blood pressure is high, the blood pressure is brought back to normal. So blood pressure, osmotic pressure is controlled by different hormones, hormone systems rather. Renin, angiotensin pathway. Okay, so system, there is a RAS system, we call it RAAS, RAS system we call it. This is basically involved in osmoregulation. This is involved in regulating the blood pressure. Okay, so that's how osmoregulation takes place. So these are all different hormones that are involved in regulations like epinephrine and norepinephrine. They can increase the kidney function by vasoconstriction. Renin increases blood pressure by acting on angiotensinogen. Angiotensin secreted by liver converted into angiotensin 2 affects multiple serves multiple purposes. Aldosterone, we have seen that it prevents the loss of sodium. Antidiuretic hormone prevents the loss of water, and atrial natriuretic peptide will decrease the blood pressure by acting as a vasodilator, dilates the blood vessel and also increases the filtration rate plus loss of sodium together with water. So blood pressure is brought back to normal. Next, the next type of homeostasis is calcium homeostasis. So we know calcium is basically stored in our bones, okay, and blood also needs calcium for different physiological activities. Now what happens when the calcium level is increased? So normally is 100 milligram per dl, I mean more than 10 milligrams per dl, okay, is a normal calcium level. That means for 100 ml of blood, 10 milligrams of calcium will be present. 10 milligrams of this calcium. Now what happens if it increases by 10 milligram? Now what happens? The thyroid gland, it will release a hormone called as calcitonin. This hormone, okay, it will it will be acting on osteoclasts. Osteoclasts are the cells of your bone, and because of this, what happens? Now, when the osteoclast cells are inhibited by calcitonin, calcium reabsorption in the kidney will be decreased. It will be decreased. So, one is osteoclast activity is inhibited. Next one is calcium reabsorption is decreased. So, calcium is lost and in the blood calcium level will decrease. If the blood calcium level decreases, in that case what happens? You know, calcium absorption in the small intestine increases, absorption. So, if you might have taken milk or egg that contains calcium. Now, when the calcium level in the blood decreases, what happens? Its absorption in the intestine increases, and this absorbed calcium will be reabsorbed from the kidney, and then even osteoclast cells will release it from the bone. All these activities are done by the help of the parathyroid gland and the hormone of parathyroid gland called as parathohormone. When this happens, if the blood calcium level has decreased less than 10 milligrams per dl. Okay, so osteoclast cells in an increased case, they are inhibited, they won't release the calcium. Parathohormone will make the osteoclast cell to release the calcium from the bone. It is released from the bone to the blood. Okay, and actually calcitonin act to reverse. It will help in absorption of the calcium by the bone cells. So more and more calcium is added to the bone in presence of calcitonin, and parathohormone releases that calcium to the blood. Okay, so blood calcium level increases one by a release from the osteoclast cells, and then from the kidney reabsorption, and the third one by increased absorption of calcium, and this is done by parathyroid. Okay, and when the blood calcium level increases, it is the calcitonin that's involved in maintaining the calcium level in the blood. So in this session we have seen there are three types of hormones based on their chemical nature: steroid hormones, protein hormones, and derived hormones. And we have also seen that hormones play a very important role in regulation of temperature, mineral absorption or concentration, and osmoregulation, including glucose. Okay, that is all for today, and these are the references for today's class. Thank you.